Brock Bowers, tight end for Georgia, arguably the best player in college football, is going to have surgery, going to have a tightrope surgery on a high ankle sprain. We're going to talk about what this means for Brock Bowers, what it means for Georgia, what we think about this thing. Make sure you're subscribed right here so you don't miss a minute of the content we got going on the On3 YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Pickell. Get at me on there and let me know what you think about the situation and let me know what your expectations are for Georgia now going forward with Brock Bowers out for at least a portion of time for the Dogs. So, first things first, man, we hate this. I think any fan in college football hates this for Brock Bowers. Regardless of who you root for, Brock Bowers, from where I'm standing, is a guy that does things the right way, cares about his teammates, is a team-first kind of guy. Every single interview you hear him answer a question about what he did in a game. When he's asked something about what he did in the game, he usually deflects praise and puts it back on his teammates. And so seeing just a bad thing happen to a good person, a good player, from what we can tell, hate this. Absolutely hate this for Brock Bowers. Now, the question everyone's asking, how long is he out for? The timeline that's being thrown around is 4 to 6 weeks. That's like the thing you'll see on the ticker on ESPN, and you'll hear people say in interviews. I want to make this very clear. That timeline, 4 to 6 weeks, is for a normal human being. Brock Bowers is not a normal human being. There have been people that have come back from this kind of procedure more quickly. Now, also worth mentioning, Brock Bowers and the position that he plays at tight end and the way that they utilize him within this offense, like it's going to be very important for him to have that ankle as close to 100% as possible, just by nature of what he is asked to do on the field. He's not a guy that's, a lineman getting to a pass set and you kind of just anchor down with your lower body, or a quarterback that doesn't have to put all his weight on one foot all the time. Like Brock Bowers, with the speed he's going at and the way he's getting in and out of routes, I'm not a doctor, never went to medical school, but from where I'm standing, that is probably a fair assessment to make, that you don't want to rush this guy back before he's ready. But again, I would have to imagine that Brock Bowers, with just what we know about him being abnormal, I don't think it's unreasonable to keep an eye on that timeline, and wouldn't be surprised. Again, I don't know. I don't want to put anything out there that's untrue, but I would not be overwhelmingly surprised if he pushes that timeline. So, what does it mean for Georgia? What does it mean for them going forward? There's a couple of things to talk about within this. You lose your best player, not just on your offense, but on your team. So that's a thing where you have to now go team-wide, and everybody has to elevate their game to kind of help carry this thing forward. Schematically, the guys over at Dawgs HQ, Jake Rowe and Rusty Mansell, were talking about this as well, so go check out their take on this whole situation. They're super close to the situation as well. There's probably going to be a change schematically from Georgia offensively, because Georgia, what we know about them, they're typically a 2 tight end offense, want to run a lot of 12 personnel, get downhill, and kind of put the defense in a bind with how they approach you with those big bodies on the field. They can also catch the football. Like Brock Bowers, also a really good blocker. So they're going to miss that part of that game as well. But schematically, what I was saying, they're probably going to go a little bit less of 12 personnel, meaning there's going to be more responsibility on the wide receivers and on Carson Beck. I think there's 2 sides to what Georgia has to do going forward. The first of which being, you have to find a way to make Carson Beck comfortable. He just lost his go-to guy. Carson Beck has thrown for 2,147 yards this season. Of those 2,147 yards, 567 of them are going to Brock Bowers. That's 26%. So a quarter of Carson Beck's pass yards are to Brock Bowers. That is now no longer in the lineup. How do you account for that? I think Dominic Leavitt has to kind of start to elevate his game more and more. He played well against Vanderbilt. Ladd McConkey, you're glad to see him becoming more and more healthy. Hopefully he's 100% and back to his old ways here going forward after the bye week. Ra Thomas, you hope he's able to continue to elevate his game. Like, all of these pieces for Georgia offensively have to now kick it up a notch, because Carson Beck, at the end of the day, as old as he is, he's still a year 1 starting quarterback for the Dogs. So you need to do everything in your power to make him as comfortable as possible, to win your matchup, and be able to be an option for him in this pass game. In addition to that, Mike Bobo. Previously, you were dialing up winners with Brock Bowers, and that was a pretty evident thing whenever you watch Georgia play on a Saturday afternoon. Look at the Auburn game. Look at the way they were playing against Vanderbilt early. It was feed Brock Bowers early and often. You have to find a way to now have other weapons that you're going to scheme it up for, which is sort of fairly obvious, but I'm just saying, you take a chess piece like that out of the lineup, you have to find a way to somehow still account for that production. and give Carson Beck something that he likes offensively, and give him easy access throws and just take things off his plate that maybe he would have had on his plate without Brock Bowers. The run game obviously going to be a big part of this. I think the other side of this is Carson Beck has to elevate his game. Like the whole theme, if you want to just put it into one word, elevate. Everyone's got to elevate their game. But I think for Carson Beck now, it's going to be a lot more on him to keep the passing game operating at the level that it is right now, because they're humming right along. Georgia, I believe, is somewhere around 35, 37 pass attempts a game. They are content to throw the football. I expect that to continue with Carson Beck still running the show for them, even without Brock Bowers. It's going to be on him to be dialed in without his safety blanket. So here's one encouraging thought for Georgia fans. There's no way to put a positive spin on the way things are right now, so we're not going to try and do that. But when you look at what this situation could end up being in 4 to 6 weeks, let's just be conservative. Let's say Georgia ends up playing for the SEC title, and that's the first time you get Brock Bowers back. Now, 4 to 6 weeks would put him back earlier than that, but let's just say you don't get him back until the SEC title game, and let's say Georgia is able to get to the SEC title game. If they get to the SEC title game, it's likely because what we were talking about a second ago with those pass catchers stepping up and the offense sort of evolving into Georgia 2.0 without Brock Bowers becomes a reality. So imagine you get Brock Bowers added into that lineup where Dominic Lovett has taken the next step, or Ra Thomas is now a big-time wide receiver. Ladd McConkey is a new version of himself as well, even before what he was last year. He's improved from that. Like, if this Georgia offense evolves and develops without Brock Bowers to the point where they are as effective as they have been offensively going forward, and then you add Brock Bowers into that, that's going to be scary for the rest of college football. That's going to be very difficult to defend. Also goes without saying that Carson Beck, in that scenario, has also probably brought the juice to the nth degree. And Mike Bobo is in his bag. Like, that would probably be a reality you would live in if you find yourself in the SEC title game. And I think Brock Bowers getting added into that equation, I don't think Georgia fans would be mad at that. I think that would be, again, very, very difficult to defend, because then you have Brock Bowers, the best player in college football, and you have some other weapons on this Georgia offense that are playing at a different level than they are right now. But I can't wait to watch it, how Georgia responds. Again, heart breaks for Georgia, heart breaks for Brock Bowers. We hate stuff like this. Hope Brock Bowers gets back on the field very soon, because college football is better with number 19 playing on Saturdays. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a minute of what you got going on right here on the On3 YouTube channel on The Hard Count. I'm JD Pickell. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.